All right, I'm ready for this exam. Let's get this. Wait, what? Oh my gosh, I was having a nightmare. My exam's tomorrow. It's not too late. I'm gonna tell you how you can study for your exam the night before. I'm gonna make this brief so you can get right back to studying. Step 1, do practice problems, practice tests. It's much more important than actually reading notes or watching lectures. Let me give you a hypothetical. Imagine that there's a guy who watched videos and read everything there is about playing a guitar for a whole year. Then you have a guy who just actively tried playing a guitar, failed and kept trying for a month. Who do you think is gonna be better suited to play a guitar? Obviously, the guy who spent a month playing guitar will probably play better than a guy who never actually touched the guitar and just kept studying it. It's pretty obvious. This is how we learn when it comes to sports, music, art, and whatever the subject you're studying for. Trust me, doing is much better than just revising notes and reading chapters. Don't be scared. You do not need to read the whole textbook all over again or the whole chapter. Just do practice problems. If you have no idea what you're doing, fail at it, research how to answer the question, then do it again. That's way more optimal than reading a chapter. You should keep reading chapters to a minimum of maybe 10%. 90% of your workload should be practice problems. Trust me, jump in. You're gonna learn way faster if you just try and fail. Pro tip, if you have little of a base knowledge when it comes to the topic, which you hopefully shouldn't, attending class and homework is good enough, then you're gonna wanna skim the chapter, or better yet, if your textbook has a chapter summary, read that instead. That will cut all the fluff, or go online and find the chapter summary. But do not spend your time reading the chapters. You're not gonna retain much of that information anyways. It's not worth your time. Step 2, you want to take micro breaks. This is where you let your brain go idle for 10 seconds randomly throughout your study session. This is backed by science and recommended by my man Andrew Huberman, the neurologist. In summary, the hippocampus and neocortex in your brain, which are responsible for memorizing things, retaining information, work best in a state of rest. What was previously thought as napping or sleeping works when you take simply a 10-second break. So if you let your brain go idle for 10 seconds, you still have that rapid replay of information in the neocortex and hippocampus, which will help you retain and memorize information. Shockingly enough, resting for literally just 10 seconds sporadically throughout your study session has also shown to not only have that rapid replay in the neurons, it also gives you 20x replay, meaning that you accelerate learning by 20 times the speed. So you're able to learn at a higher rate and retain information better. So these 10-second breaks are not only quite optimal, they're groundbreaking in how fast you'll actually be able to memorize things. I talk more about this on my How to Learn 20 Times Faster video. You'll find it in my channel. Go watch that. Not right now. You have to go study. Step 3, use Pomodoro and Ultradian cycles. Studying the brain has taught us that for the most part, we're not really able to sit down for prolonged periods of time. We're just not wired that way. We want to do something else. To combat this, there's 2 methods. The first one, Ultradian cycles. You basically study for 90 minutes, no more than that, because once more, we just can't focus. So 90 minutes on, about 60 minutes off, and then you repeat the process all over again. The second method is Pomodoro. You basically do the exact same thing, but in smaller intervals. These smaller intervals can be like 25 minutes of studying, followed by 5 minutes of break, and then you just repeat. This is really optimal because it helps you ensure that while you're studying, you're actually being optimal in studying, and you're not having this kind of passive study session. You're actually deep working, focused, and trying to retain information. It's really important that if you feel like you can't study too long, do Pomodoro. If you feel like you can actually sit down and study, go for the 90-minute Ultradian cycles. I try to combine it a little bit, and I do around 45 minutes of working, 5 minutes of break, repeat it, then I take a longer break, kind of if I was doing the Ultradian cycles, and I'll do like a 30-minute break. Usually for that 30-minute break, I'll do lunch or go to a workout or do errands, but then I go back to study. So try to schedule out your day that way. Obviously, if you're studying the night before an exam, you're gonna want to try to go for the Ultradian cycles. I don't recommend taking a full hour break because you don't have the time, but if you only set aside a 30-minute break, you still get that rest period to retain information. But additionally, if you do, for example, a 12-hour session, you can still get about 9 hours of work done in that study time. So that's pretty optimal for the night before a test. Do that. try to get that 12-hour session in and take 30-minute breaks after every 90 minutes. And just to make sure, don't try to fight it out and work for the whole 10 or 12 hours or going over 90 minutes. You're doing yourself a disservice. It's not optimal. That's not how the brain works. You're not going to be focused and your brain's not really going to retain information well. Try to keep it at a max 90 minutes studying and then take a break. You need those 30-minute breaks or it's a waste of your time. So it's not only kind of fun to take breaks, it's recommended and optimal. All right, step 4. So step 4 is sleep. As cheesy as it sounds, all your teachers have probably told you you need good rest before an exam. To be honest, most of the time I never got 8 hours before exams. You have very, very little time. Take a prolonged nap, but you need to sleep something. If you don't sleep, your neurons won't have the time to encode information. Rest, once more, from step 2, is how you truly retain information. There's no point in spending all day studying just to stay up all night and not be able to remember anything. But obviously, it's gonna depend on how close you're cutting it. All right, and that's all the steps. That was pretty concise. I tried to rush it for you guys. Now get off YouTube, go study. Don't worry, you can just hit subscribe and watch videos from my channel later. See you on the next one.